The pandemic is front and center as hospitalizations rise across the country and vaccinations lag. So far, still under half the nation has been fully vaccinated.
And nationwide, we're seeing a surge in new cases of the virus rising as they did last summer. Now the 7-day average of new infections is above 40,000 cases per day. That's a jump of more than 46% from the previous week.
And one state facing a major jump in cases is Arkansas. 2,000 cases reported yesterday, the first time the state has reached that mark since the winter. We'll be speaking live with the state's top health officer in a moment, but we begin with ABC's Trevor Ault with the latest on the pandemic. Good morning, Trevor.
Good morning, Matt. Infections are really climbing all over the country once again, from crowded areas here in New York to rural areas in the Midwest and the South. And this week, almost a quarter of the country's cases were in Florida. The governor said 95% of the people infected there are unvaccinated, and experts say that percentage is even higher among the COVID patients in the hospital.
This morning, with well over 100 million Americans still unvaccinated, exhausted healthcare workers fighting a new surge are pleading with the public.
This is living proof of the patients that we do have, that if you can't, please go out and get vaccinated.
Nationwide, more than 25,000 patients are being treated for COVID in the hospital, up 36.5% in the past week. The patients almost exclusively unvaccinated.
It's been hard 11 days away from my wife.
Brian Parisi has not gotten the shot, and he's battling COVID in a California ICU. But even that hasn't changed his mind about getting the vaccine.
We were waiting for the emergency authorization to work its way through. In retrospect, I honestly don't know if it would have made a difference.
Louisiana, Arkansas, and Florida now seeing the highest case rates. Florida's infections rising from 23,000 2 weeks ago to 73,000 on Friday. But the threat is not deterring tens of thousands from flocking to Miami for Rolling Loud, one of the largest hip-hop festivals in the world.
I'll be worried a little bit, but I'm not worried because I trust everybody is straight, great vibes.
I still have my mask, though. You always got to be protected.
Even for the vaccinated, breakthrough infections are a rare but growing problem. In Provincetown, Massachusetts, an outbreak of 430 cases, almost 70% of them involving fully vaccinated people. And in Atlanta, ABC affiliate WSB anchor Fred Blankenship also suffering a breakthrough case, even having trouble breathing, but he says it could have been much worse.
I believe, and my doctor believes, that having the vaccination kept me out of the hospital, allows me to kind of pick up and go back on with my life.
And that's become a heartbreaking lesson for Arizona father Ismael Vega. He and his wife Fernanda were both unvaccinated and both got infected, but Fernanda died at the hospital.
With what I have experienced, I don't want to go through this again. I do not. Don't take anything for granted. Life is precious.
And a new ABC News Ipsos poll shows about 6 in 10 Americans are concerned that they or someone they know will become infected with COVID, and that is rising from what we saw in mid-June. But the fears are actually higher among people who are partially vaccinated than those who are fully unvaccinated by more than 20%. Eva?
Interesting statistic. Trevor Ault for us there this morning. Thank you. And joining us now is the chairman of the CDC's Advisory Committee on Immunization, Dr. Jose Romero. He's also the Secretary of Health for the state of Arkansas. Thanks so much for being with us this morning, Doctor. I want to start with first the situation on the ground right now in Arkansas. How does it look?
Well, thank you very much for having me. We are seeing an increasing number of cases, and as you mentioned in your intro, we've crossed the 2,000 mark of new cases this weekend, and it's the first time it's happened since November on the upswing of the number of cases, and since February when we were starting to have less cases. So it's clearly here, and it continues. We expect to have several more days of 2,000 case days, and hospitalizations are also increasing.
I'm curious to see and to hear your take about these reports for the need for a booster shot. What are your thoughts?
Yes, this was discussed during the ACIP meeting. It's clear that some populations don't do as well with 2 doses as the general population, the immunocompromised individuals. We are seeing some breakthroughs here. They tend to be in the older patients. It's very possible that there will be a selective recommendation for use of boosters in the future. But as of right now, that we haven't heard anything at the ACIP, that is the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, for their use at this time. We continue to discuss them and continue to look at the data and safety for their use.
One of the other things we hear a lot of people discussing is this idea of masks in schools. What should the CDC do about the idea of masks in schools?
Well, I really can't advise the CDC. They have to look at the data. My recommendation within our state is that they be used in schools. Now, we cannot mandate the use of vaccines in the state of Arkansas, but what I can suggest and recommend to general public is that children be masked. My concern is that as school opens up, we're going to see significant numbers of children infected, and I say that because we're seeing more cases of daycare centers with closures or outbreaks, and summer camps closing this year than last year. So that leads me to believe that when school starts, there'll be a larger spread of this within the classroom and within the schools themselves.
And this is obviously something we will all be watching as the summer progresses. Dr. Romero, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.